it's April from Snapdragon Hollow. Today I'm here with my weekly book vlog to share with you what I've been reading this week, as well as more books that I'm adding to my October book selections and some fun books that I picked up while I was on a recent trip to Barnes & Noble. So first, let's go ahead and get started with more books that I found on my bookshelves that I wanted to add to my October bookshelf that I shared in last week's book vlog. This is the first book that I found. This is from the Everyman's Pocket Poetry series of books. This is a book that I read last year called Poems Bewitched and Haunted. So this is just the perfect little book to pick up and read throughout the month of October. Some really good classic poetry throughout this book. I love the Everyman's Pocket Poetry book collection. I have quite a few books in that collection so far, as well as plenty more that I'd like to add to my collection of classic poetry. So that's my first addition to the October bookshelf. I got a really cute book this week that I've been eyeing for a while, and that's Peter Rabbit and the Pumpkin Patch. It looks really cute. I haven't read it yet. I'll probably read it this week, and if I think my grandkids are old enough for this, I'll probably share it with them as well. I love previewing books before I share it with the grandchildren, just so I know if it's the right age range for them. Also, I have been reading a book that is based on Beatrix Potter, so I thought that this would be a perfect book to add to the October bookshelf. Then we have a classic for me. This is a childhood favorite of mine, and that is Clifford. I love Clifford the Big Red Dog. One of my favorite dolls growing up was actually a Clifford doll. I no longer have that doll, sadly, but I do have a new Clifford doll that I keep on my shelves in the playroom for the grandkids, and I love Clifford books. So when I saw a copy of this Clifford's Halloween book, here's what this looks like up close. I knew I had to have this for my collection. Again, I love Clifford books, and I'm sure I've read this before. It's been many years though, so this one I'm gonna have a lot of fun reading to the grandkids. So Clifford's Halloween. And then this one looked so fun. I love tea time. I forgot to mention I am having tea in this beautiful Harvest mug. It's got an owl. It's got owls on it. This is, it says Harvest Moon on the inside. You maybe can see, maybe not. And this is an Emma Bridgewater mug. I love the shape and design of the Emma Bridgewater mug. So I have a couple in my collection. This is one that I recently picked out for the harvest season. And today I'm having Apple Refresh Tea by Amaz, one of my favorite teas to have throughout the autumn and Christmas seasons. I love that fresh smelling apple taste. Anyway, this next Halloween book has to do with tea parties. It's called Mr. Pumpkin's Tea Party. There we go. I spotted this. This was a suggestion in when I was browsing books. This one was suggested, and I looked through it, and it looked adorable. It's got a cute little pumpkin man here, and it's got wonderful illustrations. Nice tea time here. A few years back, I actually hosted a Halloween tea party. It's something that I definitely hope to do again in the future. I don't think I'll be able to do it this year, perhaps next year. And perhaps this book will be an inspiration. So Mr. Pumpkin's Tea Party. That looked like a fun one. I'll probably read it this week for fun. Then this one I also spotted when I was browsing books at Amazon. And I will go ahead and leave my Amazon affiliate links in the description box below for these books. This one is called Old Fashioned Halloween Fun. It says History, Legends, Games, Recipes, and Charms by Marie Irish. And it's got some really neat vintage illustrations here on the front and back. The inside is just, there's no illustrations on the inside. It's excerpts of vintage Halloween tips and recipes and things like that. Cute little recitations and monologues that they would have put on as readings or little plays and things like that for children. It's got ideas for refreshments, games, and little stories, songs, all sorts of really cool old-fashioned Halloween type fun here. I love history, and I love reading old historical books about the different seasons and about, well, any topic really, but I thought that this would be super fun to browse, so I probably won't read this one cover to cover, but I will definitely spend some time browsing this one for the rest of the month. So old-fashioned Halloween fun, that looked really intriguing. And then 2 more books for the Halloween shelf here. This one I spotted at Barnes & Noble while I was there, but I didn't pick it up then and ended up ordering it later. It is called The Skull by John Klassen. And it is just really interesting. It's sort of that dark, sort of a dark gothic-y vibe to this. It's got some interesting illustrations. It's just intriguing to me. It's a very short little story, and I will probably read this for fun this week. This is a children's book, and just looks really interesting. It says here, this is an old story. It's about a girl named Attila who runs away. It's also about a house in the woods and a skull who lives there, and a secret the skull has, and the night that Attila finds out what the secret is. So just an intriguing little fun story here. So I thought that would be a fun spooky read for October. And then this one here, I thought that this would be a great one for the grandchildren. We're going to the pumpkin patch in a couple of days. This one is called Halloween in the Orchard by Phyllis Alsdorf and illustrated by Lisa Hunt. There are a few more in this series. I believe, let's see, Thanksgiving in the Woods, which I believe I have, and you'll see that when I share my Thanksgiving bookshelf with you. They also have available a Christmas one that I think I will go ahead and order if I like this one. I know I liked Thanksgiving in the Woods, so I'm excited to read this one as well. And I will, of course, let you know in future book vlogs what I think of any of the books that I do read. So yes, Halloween in the Orchard. I'm excited about that one. I think that's going to be perfect for the grandkids. And then on to a couple more murder mysteries. These are classics by Agatha Christie. I'm kind of building my collection of Agatha Christie mysteries a little bit. I actually have a really extensive collection already. I have a lot of her stories already, but these 2 books are based on the 2 most recent Agatha Christie movies that have been out in theaters. One was last year with Poirot being played by Kenneth Branagh. They are wonderful. I saw Murder on the Orient Express last year and I really enjoyed it. I love Agatha Christie mysteries done in film as well. I've always loved the PBS mystery Agatha Christie mysteries, as well as some of the modern ones, and I am enjoying the modern version. I never thought that I would get over David Suchet not being Poirot and accept another actor as Poirot, but I am getting used to it. So I thought I would grab these 2 books here of the most recent movies. This is Murder on the Orient Express. I would love to give this a read. I meant to read this last year and never got around to it. So I'm hoping to read that perhaps in November or December. And this one, again, I'm not sure I'll get to it this month. I'm going to be starting a new book here that's quite a heavier read, so I don't know how much reading time I will have for this. And this next one is Halloween Party by Agatha Christie, and this is the story that they based the newest movie on, A Haunting in Venice. That A Haunting in Venice is based on Halloween Party, which I have read, but it has been probably maybe 15 years since I've read Halloween Party, so I'll definitely want to read this again. So I bought this copy. They look really similar, and I thought that they would be nice together on the bookshelf. So I got that as well, and I'm very excited to have that in my collection. And now moving on to a few more of the books that I picked out when I was at Barnes & Noble. But before I share these with you, I thought that I would go ahead and share a few clips that I took while I was at Barnes & Noble. Okay, so my recent trip to Barnes & Noble, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at some of those pictures. It was so nice browsing through books in person. I have to make it a priority to do that more often. It is quite a drive to get to the Barnes & Noble, but it was definitely a very fun outing. So I did pick out some books while I was there, and the first one I picked out that I probably won't read this month, but I'm hoping to read coming up soon, is Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. So Magpie Murders sounds like an intriguing murder mystery here. It says here it's about a detective, Atticus Pund, who solves mysteries disturbing sleepy English villages, and that it pays homage to Agatha Christie and British crime mysteries, which I of course love. So I spotted another one in this series. I can't remember the other mystery that I saw by Anthony Horowitz, but if I like this one, I will perhaps pick up his other one too. If I recall, it also sounded intriguing while I was there. So picked up Magpie Murders to read later on in the year. Then I picked up something fun. They had a big Dungeons and Dragons section there. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons, but some of my family members enjoy it. They have Dungeons and Dragons groups that they do. And this is Dungeons and Dragons Mad Lib. So I thought that this would be a really fun family activity sometime while we're sitting around at family dinner, just to pull out and do a few of these Mad Libs. I love Mad Libs. I think they're fun. So I thought that this would be something that was enjoyed by some of my family members. I thought that would be really fun, so I picked that up. And then I picked up a book in their discount book annex. This is the illustrated edition of Walden, or Life in the Woods by Henry David Thoreau. And it just looked like a really nice copy. I'm hoping that sticker comes off there. I don't love how they put stickers on the front covers. We'll see if it comes off, but this looks like a really beautiful copy here. I loved the illustrations on the front. It's got some beautiful illustrations on the inside as well. You can kind of see there. Just some beautiful illustrations, as well as pretty printing on the borders of the page here. It's just a really nice book, and I'm excited to have this classic in my collection. And then this one here caught my eye as well. I was a little bit overwhelmed by all of the choices in person when I was at Barnes & Noble, so I didn't want to purchase too many books. That I usually take my time and kind of research a little bit more what books that I pick up, but this one looked like fun, so I thought that I would grab this one while I was there. It's called A Peculiar Pearl by Jeff Vandermeer. Has an interesting cover there with lots of different oddities on it. It says here that in this strange, wonder-filled epic, Jonathan Lambshead stands to inherit his deceased grandfather's overstuffed mansion. And that right there sounds really intriguing. It says a veritable cabinet of curiosities. And I love the concept of cabinet of curiosities. I have other books here that are nonfiction book about people's curiosity cabinet collections, and so he and two of his schoolmates have to go and catalog the contents, and then of course that's kind of the story, the kickoff of the story. It just sounds really intriguing. It's quite a hefty book, but it looks and sounds really interesting. So A Peculiar Pearl, which sounds like an interesting book. I'm excited to read this later on in the year as well. And I have one more item that I picked up at Barnes & Noble before I share with you all of the books that I've read so far this week. This is a really special purchase for me. This is something that I purchase every fall when it comes out, and I have been purchasing a copy of this magazine now every fall for years and years. I used to share this with my grandma before she passed. For years, I would actually, when she was too old to get out to the store herself, I would go and pick her up a copy and me a copy, and I would make sure to either mail it to her, bring it to her on one of my visits, and then later during the rest of the month, we would go through this magazine together. So this is Better Homes and Gardens Christmas Cookies Cookbook. This says 100 all-time favorites, and I love baking Christmas cookies. Even though I'm on a really limited sugar, low sugar and low carb diet, I still love to cook cookies and things as a special treat. This Christmas will be no exception. And I will always have the tradition of picking up this magazine so long as they continue making it. And as I look through the recipes, I will think of the many times that I spent sharing this magazine with my grandma. This is just something that we always loved to do, and every single time I see this magazine come out, I have such fond memories of those times. I've also kept a hold of all these copies for years of these old magazines that we have read, and so I hope to share these magazines in the future with any of my family who would enjoy looking through these as well, because they are quite a bit of fun. They always have so many fun Christmas cookies in them. I love looking through and picking out something new to make. They always have such fun pictures, thumbprints there. Looks like we've got a wreath of some sort and chocolate truffle brownies. That sounds good. I've actually tried recipes like this. This would be good for this month. Buttery pumpkin cookies, things like that. So it's just always full of wonderful cookie recipes. I can't suggest this magazine enough if you love to bake as well. If you can find a copy, I would definitely suggest you pick it up. It is just a great magazine, and for me it's associated with some really positive memories. So that was my last purchase at Barnes & Noble. They have such a nice magazine selection there. It was fun to come across a copy of the Better Homes and Gardens Christmas Cookies Cookbook. Okay, so now on to the books that I've read over the last couple of weeks. Last week I didn't share with you the books that I had been reading because I was sharing my Halloween book tour, and I would definitely encourage you to check that out if you'd like to see the rest of my Halloween book selection. But these are the books that I have read over the last couple of weeks. The first book that I read since I last shared with you what I'd been reading was a sweet little children's book called A Blessing for Autumn's Child. I picked this book up a while back from Bushel and Peck. It's really adorable. Little autumn mouse there. It's called, again, A Blessing for Autumn's Child. And I didn't realize what this book was. I thought it was a little story book, but it's really supposed to be like a blessing poem for a child born in autumn. It was okay. Let's see, I believe I actually only rated this 3 stars, which for me is kind of harsh. It was beautiful illustrations. The illustrations are really, really vibrant and pretty. I loved the illustrations like that, but I felt that some of the poetry fell a little bit short. There was some really strange verses in this that I kind of got a chuckle out of. It was still really sweet. I did like it for that. And again, the illustrations were great. It was a pleasant thing to read. I believe my daughter or daughter-in-law, or maybe both of them, were here, and I read some of it out loud to them, and we got a little bit of a laugh out of that. But yeah, it was still really, really cute and fun to read, and I will still read the rest of them. I think I have one for each season, so I'll still read the rest of them. I do think that they are cute. So that book is by Peter Hinckley, A Blessing for Autumn's Child. So that was just a short little read. And then I read another children's book. This was definitely a 5-star for me. This is Miss Susie. This is a 50th anniversary edition. It is about this adorable little squirrel here who gets kicked out of her treehouse home by, she's a little gray squirrel, and some red squirrels come along and kick her out, and she ends up living in an attic in a really wonderful little dollhouse. Here's a picture of the dollhouse here. She goes in, she finds it an entryway into someone's attic, and finds this old dollhouse sitting there, cleans it all up. She's a little tidy housekeeper and gets it all cleaned up. She meets some toy soldiers who also live in the attic. There's a picture of the toy soldiers who befriend her, and eventually they go on a mission to reclaim her treehouse from the squirrels who took over her treehouse, and it's just absolutely adorable. It's such a cute and fun story. I hope that they eventually put some of the other Miss Susie books back into print. I would even maybe consider hunting down some of the other Miss Susie books that are out of print. But this one, I'm so glad is in print. It's adorable. It had a lot of the very sort of autumnal charm to it. That's why I picked this book to read this last week. And it was just a super fun, quick read. I think children would love this story as well. So Miss Susie by Miriam Young. Then I read this wonderful book. This is the 50th anniversary edition of The Wolves of Willoughby Chase by Joan Aiken. This book was wonderful. I couldn't put it down. I read it right away. It was really good. It reminded me a lot of the Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events. It definitely has that vibe to it. It was really, really fun to read again. Wolves in it, lots of adventures and things like that. This was a really fun and adventurous read. If you also enjoy Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events, this is of course a much older book, but it definitely, again, has that same vibe, and I think you would really enjoy that as well. I know I did. So The Wolves of Willoughby Chase, that was a great one. Then I finished book 2 in the series, The Cottage Tales of Beatrix Potter. This is The Tale of Holly Howe. I let you know that I was reading that in the last vlog. I did finish this. It was also a really good mystery. I'm really enjoying this mystery series. This is a cozy mystery series, again, based on Beatrix Potter. This one had a little bit more of the animals in it actually talking and kind of taking part, you know, with the other animals in the story. They kind of had their own little side story happening. And then, of course, the humans in the story, solving the mystery, all of that. It was really, really fun to read. And I'm definitely looking forward to reading more in this series. I'll probably take a break until November from the next one because I have a lot of reading coming up, like I said. But I'm definitely excited to get back to book number 3, The Tale of Holly Howe by Susan Wittig Albert. Definitely a recommended series. Then I read a couple more quick reads from my Halloween bookshelf. The first one I read was The Haunted Tea Cozy by Edward Gorey. I picked this one just because I picked a small selection of my Edward Gorey books to put on my Halloween bookshelf, but I should have read a little bit closer. This would have been better for my Christmas bookshelf. This says A Haunted Tea Cozy by Edward Gorey, a dispirited and distasteful diversion for Christmas time. This is a take on A Christmas Carol, a take on Dickens' A Christmas Carol, but Edward Gorey fashion. It says the ghosts of Christmas to come, not as Dickens imagined, but as Gorey imagines. The haunted tea cozy, a dispirited and distasteful diversion, brings us a gift. Gorey, inimitable and irreverent. So really, really fun story. Again, a funny take on A Christmas Carol, an Edward Gorey sort of gothic-y, humorous take on A Christmas Carol. Even though this wasn't an October-themed type of read, I ended up really, really enjoying it. So definitely a recommended Edward Gorey tale if you enjoy that style of writing, The Haunted Tea Cozy. So that was a fun and quick read. And then I decided to give a read to Cranberry Halloween. And I had mentioned that earlier this year I read Cranberry Valentine. This one I only rated 4 stars. I feel like there were some holes in the story, but the illustrations definitely make up for it. I did like all of the characters in this story. I loved they were trying to raise funds for, I believe, a new dock in this story. And there's, of course, a villain trying to stop the process. We've got some exciting adventures that happen here. But overall, just a sweet story about a nice little town here and how they do a little fundraiser and celebrate their Halloween time. Although I only rated it 4 stars, I still think it is a wonderful story. Another wonderful cranberry story, and I can't wait to read A Cranberry Thanksgiving as well. So that is by Wendy and Harry Devlin. So A Cranberry Halloween. That was a fun, quick read as well, and that is something that I might share with my grandchildren in another year or so. Next, I finished a wonderful, wonderful story. This is one I've been reading throughout this year. This is Anne of Green Gables, and this was, of course, wonderful by L.M. Montgomery. I cannot wait to read the next in the series. It was so fun following Anne's time at Green Gables, following through her life, from the time she was first adopted all the way through the end, where she has furthered her studies and become quite a young woman. It is just such an inspiring and beautifully written story. I cannot say enough positive things about Anne of Green Gables. I knew I would love it. I've loved the series on television over the years, and the movies and things like that. And I hadn't read anything by Ellen Montgomery in many, many years. So it was so nice reading Anne of Green Gables, and I would just highly recommend this to anyone. It was a wonderful story. And again, I can't wait to start reading the next in the series, Anne of Avonlea. That's definitely going to go on my reading list for November. So Anne of Green Gables, of course, highly recommended. Then I'll finish up with the last book that I finished. This was just a fun, cozy mystery, perfect for Halloween. This was Murder at the Pumpkin Pageant by Darcy Hannah. I couldn't put this book down. It was a really fun mystery. This was book number 4, I believe, in the Beacon Bake Shop mystery series, and I liked it so much. This was the first one that I'd read in this series, and you can read this as a standalone, but there is some backstory that I was able to figure out just by reading. So I thought it would be really fun to read the rest of this series. I have already ordered the first through 3rd book so that I can catch up. And the second book in the series is a Christmas themed one that I'll be able to read in December. So Murder at the Pumpkin Pageant, it was a really fun cozy mystery, murder mystery, and I really enjoyed it. It takes place at a lighthouse that has been converted to a bakery, and a wonderful little town where, small town mystery kind of vibe. I really loved it. It was cute. It has this really wonderful dog in the story as well. I really loved the characters and all the twists and turns. I was able to narrow down who I thought was the murderer in the book, which is always really fun when you can figure it out. I had it down to 2 people that I thought would be the likely suspects in the murder, and I was right about one of them. So I thought that was also really fun. So that was really a fun thing to read during October. I love reading Halloween-themed cozy mysteries during the month of October. And that one was really fun. So that is my book vlog for this week. A lot of books that I picked up both at Amazon and when I went to visit Barnes & Noble, as well as all of the books that I have been reading so far. Later today, I'm going to start Bram Stoker's Dracula, as well as a Halloween-themed middle grade book that I have picked out. And I have a couple more children's books that I plan to read as well this week. And I believe I have another Halloween cozy mystery to read as well. So I've got lots of reading coming up, some fun classics, as well as some children's literature, and another fun cozy mystery. And I will be back next week to share with you what I've been reading. I would love to hear in the comments below what you're reading this month, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful October day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.